Ladies and gentlemen, it's about to go down.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your hosts, RGX, RateWrestle, and Frozzy, representing Honor Club, and you're listening to the HCW Podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the HCW Podcast. My name is RGX. Sadly not joined this evening by Frozzy and RateWrestle. Frozzy is on holiday with his wife, as discussed in Tuesday's show. And Rate has unfortunately become a little bit sick over the last day or so, so he's not well enough to be on. So our thoughts are with him just now. But never fear, we fight through anyway. Thankfully our good friend DP has stepped in at the last minute to help right the ship and make sure we're still on schedule. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a long working week, and mixing with wrestling, it's leaving very little room to do much else. But obviously, as you said, thoughts with Ray. Hopefully you get well soon, mate. But yeah, I'm here again, so let's keep this ship afloat.
Indeed. So we'll kick things off with Smackdown. So forgive the crudely written notes, you'll see me glancing down at this a few times. This is normally Rate's bit where he's breaking down every match and I chime in with the segment. But I'll cover all of it with the exception of one very short segment in particular, which its biggest fan will cover when we get to it. So we open SmackDown with a 7-minute Roman Reigns entrance. I did time it. When he eventually gets to the ring, we go to commercial break for 4 minutes. And then when we come back, he's all smiles. He's the bad guy, but he's doing all the cheap pop stuff. Playing up to the hometown crowd and all the rest of it. Says that he's happy to be here, happy to be back, happy to see his cousins. But he looks at his sad and nervous wise man and it makes him sad. Why are you sad, wise man? So Heyman then proceeds to nervously ramble about the threat that is Brock Lesnar. One thing putting him down for a 3 count, another thing altogether putting him down for 10, etc, etc. We then get a Bo Dallas impression from Theory with the case. And that's it. It was bad enough that we're getting this feud again, and it arguably should have ended years ago, never mind at WrestleMania. And we're getting the same promos as well.
Yeah.
So I could listen to Heyman all day, but I could only hear him do the same stuff.
Yeah. Literally, I had written down during Heyman's promo, whose side is he on? Because he's bigging up Brock so much that you forget he's with Roman now.
They've teased us to death, though. They've even done the angle where he sided with Brock, but it was a fake out. So anything else to do with that is just jumping the shark at this point for me. I just do not care.
Yeah, that's fair. And also, there was a bit when Roman came out with the Usos, as they got towards the ring, it was like they panned to Theory, who was just standing in the entranceway on the rope. And then they didn't reference it at all, and I assumed it was some sort of mistake that they made, but I don't know.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. His music then hit later, which confused me because I thought he was already there. So, yeah, it was odd. Especially when I'm cutting straight to commercial at that point, and he literally only made an entrance. So we then get the segment with the new and vicious quote unquote Viking Raiders who smash Mahal and dancing Shanky. Shanky is not on the apron, he's like dancing and interacted with fans while Mahal was getting absolutely battered about. The Raiders win very quickly with Fallout. Then out come the New Day, who have brought them 2 free tickets to an ass beating. Tickets actually say ass beating on them.
Mm-hmm.
I giggled at first, but I thought,
Yeah, it's very standard WWE sort of, haha, laugh at this.
yeah, I don't want to say it's not as good without Big E, because it's unfair, but the chemistry of just Woods and Xavier isn't the same without Big E, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's mainly because there's no physical comedy per se. So you got Xavier and Kofi who are very entertaining in their own right, but they're just talking. Whereas Big E can talk and do gestures, he can dance, he can go between the
Aye.
ropes and all that. Yeah, like there's all that element to Big E that you sort of realise that it's missing when it's just Kofi and Xavier.
Yeah, so I don't know. I want to be excited for the Viking Raiders getting a decent push, but obviously the tag titles are kind of held up. That's another big issue of combining your titles. It's not just at the men's main event scene, but the tag team main event scene, tag team scene as well, where only one show is getting love. And if they extend feuds out like they have done with the Street Profits, then teams are just spinning their wheels on the other show for several months. We're in that spot with SmackDown just now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping once the Profit stuff is over, we get some push for the Viking Raiders because I'm assuming that's the direction they're going with. So once the Profits probably win the title at SummerSlam, then we're going to get hopefully the Raiders against Profits or
Could be.
Usos.
I'm not so sure that's how it's going to go down because we'll talk about it in Raw, but they're very much still pushing for Montez Ford to be a single star, I think. He even gave an interview at the weekend where he was sorry to be on an aside here just because we're talking about the Street Profits. He gave an interview at the weekend where everybody dreams of being a WWE World Champion. So if that day comes, he's going to take it. Whereas before, he would never talk about single stuff. He would always just say, "Oh, I'm in a tag team and I'm happy doing what I'm doing."
Yeah.
So it's clear that there's a single run coming, especially with all the muscle he's put on lately.
Yeah, it's a very New Japan-esque sort of push.
So next out we get Corbin. Normally I get quite upset by this, but I actually enjoyed this. Comes out to commentary to do his best Pat McAfee cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have Gunther come out to the ring. He's far too smart to do an open challenge. A true ring general and true champion studies his opponent and prepares for him. And they have to earn their way to a match. He wouldn't just give it to anyone. So we get Shinsuke come out. And speaking of the Corbin doing the cosplay, he gets up on the table and does the air guitar with Corey. I was like super excited for Shinsuke. I thought it was.
I absolutely adored that. It was amazing, and it's the only time I actually enjoyed the air guitar being done by someone on an announce table.
Yeah, because it's parody.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was going to take more detailed notes for the Nakamura match, but it was over fairly quickly with the Kinshasa. And after that, Gunther is disappointed with Kaiser for making him look bad. So chops the utter life out of him. there's a lot of people commenting, "God, are they breaking him up already?" It's like, no, he's just teaching his like
Yeah.
protege a lesson kind of thing.
These are the ways of the ring general.
Yeah, you won't be as quick to bring disappointment on me again, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he gets punished and punished hard. Next, we have Liv come out for our promo. I think I'm not getting my shows mixed up. Michael Cole's in the ring to interview her. Highlights that she has worked incredibly hard. She's overcome many setbacks. She's been incredibly close and just missed it. And I was like at that point trying to think what other one-on-one title shots with build as she had, and I can't think of any. Where she's like being this close and had it taken away. Kind of.
Yeah, didn't she have a match against? I think it was it Becky? I think it was a couple of months ago for the Raw Women's title.
Oh, but I think there was she was being positioned for one. But yeah, we then get loud "You deserve it" chants from the crowd, and Cole actually his voice breaks a little bit and says, "No, you do deserve it," which just kind of highlights my point. I think she was definitely one of those that everyone backstage likes her and they're just happy for her, which is nice to see. We then get Natty coming out, taking the credit for softening Ronda up for her, and that she wouldn't be champion if it wasn't for her. Forgetting the fact that Liv had to go through a ladder match like only 2 hours beforehand. So yeah, Ronda had the injury, but it wasn't like Liv was coming in completely fresh herself.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this leads Ronda to come out to again congratulate Liv. They'll run it back, and for some reason out of nowhere she calls Natalia Natty Boomalati. Like, I saw it actually on Twitter first of all. I had to go back and like transcribe it as Natty Boomalati calls her.
Oh, Boomalati.
Yeah, Natty Natty Boomalati.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot about that.
And that leads into Ronda squashing Natty completely. And then after that, we have your segment. Proceed.
Okay, so this is when I came out on the show, and I basically So yeah, we had the Maximum Male Models tennis collection, which, if you didn't know, is just tennis clothes in support of Wimbledon, basically. So we come out first with the same setup. So we have Max Dupree in the ring of spotlight. He talks for a bit, introduces again, and this is verbatim. I did write down what he said. A man whose looks will serve your inner needs and desires. And then he introduces Marseille, the former Mace, who comes out dressed in something that looks like an 80s photo shoot, where he comes out in a light blue polo shirt. He's got a white towel around his neck with a light blue sort of visor over his head as well. He's got some golden earrings and also some sunglasses and shades. Also some like cream beige shorts, basically. And he poses again. Says it's the same as last week, but he poses and gives potentially one of the worst looking sort of serves you can do in tennis, where it'd be completely ineffective.
It's the fact that his wrist basically flopped right down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's mention of his 20-inch biceps, 88-inch wingspan, and I also wrote here really close arse shots. There was a really zoomed in part to where he was like posing with his ass, like sort of like Lashley back in like 2018 ish.
Hell, even our good friend Riddick Moss was doing it recently. The whole pointing at his ass. But
That's right, yeah. So following on from that, we got Marseille walking off, and then we go back to Max Dupree, who mentions a man who oozes, and then I think he forgets his line. He says oozes again, and he goes, "He who oozes appeal, and evinces the essence of game, set, and match." And then he brings out Mansoir, the former Mansour, who comes out in practically the same outfit as Marseille. Just minus minus the earrings and a white headband being worn. So go on, RGX.
yeah, I was going to say it's basically like you know how in fighting games like Smash Brothers, so you've got like the alternative costume, alternative
Yeah.
skin. It's basically what it was. It was just a palette swap.
Just slot B was chosen instead of slot A. But yeah, we got more poses again, and then so Marseille had a horrible sort of backhand serve. Mansoir has got an equally as terrible forehand serve. As I got a note here, they'd be out in the first round of Wimbledon with serves like that.
It wouldn't even be it'd be out in the first round of Wimbledon Common. Never mind.
So we got mention of Mansoir's remarkably broad shoulders, perfectly proportioned chest to torso ratio, strapping triceps, further accentuated by the finest athletic cloth, allowing for muscle to provide a strong stroke over the net. Mansoir then proceeds to leave.
Can you tell which line of those was written by Vince?
You really can.
Strong stroke over the net.
hmm
So,
And then we go back to. Oh, sorry, go on. As I say, we're back to Dupree in the ring, who talks a bit more again, where he's basically just invites the entire world to submit their portfolios or their headshots to MaximumMaleModels.com. That is Maximum Male Models, one word, where you can just submit your information and a headshot, which I have done.
It's a real site, and it does have a disclaimer saying this isn't real. You will get roasted.
Which has already started.
Yeah, they have already been roasting people on Twitter. I'm here for it.
I'm on there. I hope I'm on there soon.
Thank you for covering that for us. We'll be back
Alright.
with next week's GP's Maximum Male Model segment. Or should I say, Deepwa?
Wow. Thank you, Ricardo.
You're welcome. So, after that, we're supposed to have Lacey and Natalia versus Shayna and Xia Li. Aaliyah out first, we've got commercial, and then comes out Lacey Evans. He's unhappy with the reaction the first time. Wanders back, does it again. Still not happy. Wanders back, does it again. And I think, oh God. Yeah, she goes back and she does it again. So she does half an entrance 4 times. Then does the classic "you people" heel promo.
Yeah.
Which she's done 3 times in the last 4 months. In fact, she's flip-flopped more often than Big Show. It might be a clue as to why people are being apathetic towards her. But of course, she has that promo, and the match just doesn't happen. No mention of anything. You don't hear Shayna or Xia Li's music, it just doesn't happen. Thanos out of existence. So after that, we then get the Usos squashing Los Lotharios for quick.
Yep.
That
Didn't really
is,
serve a purpose to me.
yeah. So
Like your
we
team.
get we get Kayla Braxton. We get Kayla Braxton out to interview the Usos, and we get a recap on the screen again of Ford's shoulder being up. And she asks the Usos, so are you proud of having cheated your way through that match? I hate this for the fact that they really weren't cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like he noticed his shoulder was up and moved his body to block off the ref.
Mm.
Like, the only one that essentially knew his shoulder was up was Montez Ford.
Yeah, I don't really know what they were going for with that line in particular. I know they're still trying to paint the Usos as the heels, so obviously you go with the heels, they cheated, but throughout the entire match they didn't cheat. There was a very not standard. It was a very good tag match, but there was no underhand tactics. Yeah. So to say it was cheating rather than a circumstance of just unfortunate of bad fortune or something like that.
Yeah,
like it's kind of in poor taste for me.
The only saving grace of all this is Kayla Braxton continues to be a shit stirrer with the bloodline. Because she's like low key always the one that's highlighting all these issues over like the Uso stuff there. Stuff when Roman was against Kevin Owens and she would interview him and say, "Oh, you did have him like tied down and stuff like that." Just do these little niggling questions to annoy him.
You can't forget the flirting as well with Heyman.
So at least that side of it, they're continuing on with, but part of me thinks that wasn't even meant. Just they got a really awkward camera angle during the pin and noticed it.
Yeah.
Or too many people have seen that. We need to do something with it.
Yeah, we can't retcon it now because everyone's seen it.
So literally right after the Usos match, my notes just say Partridge Shrug. You know what I'm talking about? Like the Alan Partridge show of the.
Yeah.
Right, that was my thoughts on it, basically summed up into one action. Next up, we have the hugely important and well in advance number one contenders match for Faith and Roman. I mean, the winner of the Last Man Standing match at SummerSlam at Clash of the Castle. It's going to be
and in case you forgot who is facing who at SummerSlam, as WWE will constantly tell you, it is a match between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, which has clearly never happened before.
Yep. See, the only way they would get me interested in this is if they put a tagline of last time ever. Or something like that. I'm so not invested in this feud whatsoever. But we are supposed to get Sheamus against Drew, with the winner going on to Clash at the Castle. Drew's out first, and then we get all three of the Brawling Brutes out. Sheamus says, "It's about time I get this shot." Beat you just. Sorry. I'm gonna beat you. Oh, God. My throat. Yeah. Sheamus basically pretends he has the Rona in order to get out of the match.
He was at it on the mic. He said I might have a case of the old Rona,
That's why I chose my words on. uh, and he wouldn't wrestle until he had a negative test.
Mhm.
So Butch steps in instead. I just think, Butch gets absolutely weathered and gets killed with a claymore in about 2 minutes. I just think if that was an ICW, that would have been a 25-minute match.
Yeah, or just wouldn't book it at all on a weekly show.
I feel like I've seen that match in the garage as well. And
Yeah.
seeing it go from that to this was sad.
It's quite sad just seeing Drew in general from, pre second run WWE days and Pete Dunne, in his NXT days and even before that, coming to this and basically doing this because I'm not a huge fan of Drew's current run, I guess is the word for it, or current alignment, I guess.
Yeah, he's getting a bit stale, and it pains me to admit that. But we do at the end of the match get the Brawling Brutes trying to jump him, and Drew clears him off and takes his sword and swings as if to murder Sheamus. And I'm laughing just remembering it. It goes to swing for Sheamus, cuts the top rope with the sword, it completely snaps as the sword hits it, and then the corner pyro goes off because reasons.
Obviously, Kane was in the arena.
Thing is, that is Occam's sword. Eventually, he's gonna have to use it on somebody. Someone's gonna have to get run with it.
Yeah, probably like an intel or something.
Is I think that's the moment actually that I started going off him. Was the introduction of the sword.
Oh, what does he call it again? It's got a name, hasn't it?
Angela.
That's it,
Named
Angela.
after his mum. His mum actually is called Angela.
Yeah, that's a very nice touch, I think. There's a sort of like a remnant that she's always with him. But I don't know if you noticed, but after he'd swung the sword and it went through the rope, the sword was actually bent.
Yeah.
So he's holding it forefront of the camera.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of, you remember Jim Duggan's rubber 2x4s?
Oh, I do.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, just sort of bounce off the ropes. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, that was SmackDown. We are running a wee bit long, so we'll try and pick the pace up. And we'll head into Rampage.
Okay, so AEW Rampage for the 8th of July. We started off with a comment from me saying, why is JR on commentary? Because he's on commentary now on Rampage. So we start off with Takashita, Konosuke, and Eddie Kingston. There's already a comment from JR where he says, Wardlow taking on the world seemingly disguised as Scorpio Sky. I don't know why this was mentioned during a match that didn't have Wardlow or Scorpio Sky in it. But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a very back and forth match. I've got another line here from JR. We said probably too much potential. What is potential? Well, potential's not nothing until you get the groceries and cook the meal. That's when you can maximize potential.
So I think the analogy he was trying to go for there is you can have a basket full of lovely groceries, but it's only a potential meal. It's not a meal until you cook it. Analogy, but that's what he was meaning.
I absolutely knew what he was going for. It was just the way he delivered it was just sort of sound like he was rambling.
Well, it absolutely was.
So yeah, we get a lot of stairways between the two of them. The crowd were really into this match, which is a good sign. We had some machine gun chops in the corner from Kingston. We had Konosuke taking control in several moments with a flying lariat. We then had a Blue Thunderbomb for a 2 count from Takeshita. And then I've got something here that I called No Seller Mania, where we've got a Saito suplex from Kingston, which is no sold by Konosuke, who goes for a German, which is then no sold by Kingston, who goes for an Insiguri, which is then no sold by Konosuke, going for a knee strike. It was a good spot.
So much.
It was a good spot. It was just no Seller Mania, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I like the adrenaline behind it.
Yeah, I think that works if it's like one way, but when it's both of them doing it, it just it's do stuff.
I can do well. Yeah, absolutely. So they both go to the apron. I wrote in there, "Signs bound to happen!" Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! You then get a German suplex on the apron from Konosuke. We get Lariat back in the ring for a 1 count. A Liger Bomb again from Konosuke for a 2 count. Followed by This Is Awesome Chance, which, honestly, I agree. I'm not a great Eddie Kingston fan, but it was a good match so far. We had Eddie half and half suplex, Konosuke with a lariat, followed up by Kingston going for a spinning back fist, which misses. Then Konosuke goes for a high knee, which misses. Eddie goes for a spinning back handstand, which actually connects. Konosuke then no-sells that, so back to that again, with a V-trigger high knee. Kingston no-sells that with a no spinning back fist. Konosuke falls, and Eddie then falls onto him for the 3 count. Which, honestly, I was applauding it. It was probably the best I've seen of Eddie Kingston in a while.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie does have decent matches. Has good fire. I don't see what everyone else is.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I'm like that most times with Eddie. I think it was made Takeshita who made that match what it was. So what's it on?
No, go on. Just agreeing.
Oh, okay. So move on to that, where we had a Athena start on the promo, where they basically just called out Jade for being a coward. And then they both mentioned that they want a shot at her singles title, which to me made no sense because they're sort of friends, but they both want a shot at a singles title when they're a tag team. It's a weird dynamic for me, but it is what it is. Following on from that, we had a tag match where we had the Gates of Agony, who I actually learnt the names this time, against the team of Lee Moriarty and Jonathan Gresham. The Gates of Agony are called Toa, Leona, and Khan, or Korn. I don't know how to pronounce it. Small note, I noticed that Tully's Twitter, on his little nameplate, still had Tully FTR written down. After a quick Google search, not a thing. We've got, again, there's a very standard tag match, just like last week. There's not much here from it. It's just mainly domination from the Gates of Agony against Moriarty. Gresham is about to get tagged, but he gets distracted by Tully, so leaving Moriarty by himself. Then we have a Samoan drop from Toa onto Moriarty. Moriarty is able to get some air, some breathing room. Had a chance of attacking Gresham when Gresham actually walks away. And Gresham basically just leaves, and he goes downstairs and he goes towards the rampway where he's seen hugging Tully Blanchard. So that's a little twist I didn't even see coming. So I didn't mind that at all.
Yeah. I gives them some wrinkle of personality as well, other than just being a decent technical wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And Tully doing the speaking for him will be good, because I've not heard anything promo wise out of him.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So having a decent life piece for him will be good.
Mm-hmm. But with Moriarty now by himself, the guys are able to basically just pick up the dead meat and just pin him for the 3 count, and that was the end of that. We then get a very impromptu but pre-planned, obviously because it's wrestling, promo from Eddie Kingston, where he does a lot of going up to the camera, like very uncomfortable sort of breathing down your neck sort of vibes. Where he talks about people calling him a liar because he didn't make Jericho bleed last week. And that's basically it. I did mention how he says "my Ruby" a lot, which to me is a bit uncomfortable. I don't know if that's just me or not. It just felt a bit odd.
Yeah, because they're not a couple.
Yeah.
They are just friends.
Yeah, it's like, my Ruby, you dare hurt my Ruby. How dare you hurt my Ruby? Like, my Ruby.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
obviously we'll cover it in Dynamite, but when he cuts the very, very, very similar promo, Ruby looks incredibly like, comfortable in the background.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll cover that on Dynamite.
Yeah. So following from that, we had another match. We had a tag match between Serena Deeb and Mercedes Martinez against two women who I caught names of only barely. Kayla Sparks and Christina Marie, I think it was. Both dark pillars, I believe. So this is the exact same match, but with different jobbers. From I think it was either last week or the week before, where Deeb and Martinez just don't get along. They argue. It becomes a case of I can do this, I can do that, I can do this better than you. Deeb wins with a Serenity Lock. We then get a bit of an argument again between them, where Deeb finally attacks Mercedes, and bada bing, bada boom. The match is confirmed for Ring of Honor, Death for Dishonor. But we get Deeb and Mercedes for the women's title.
That is one of the best women's matches they'll have on for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Is that AEW or is that Ring of Honor?
either.
Oh, okay.
I've not been a fan of Thunder Rosa's main event running, unfortunately. At least this one. So I think that Deeb should have been women's champion by now. I think she should. Thunder Rosa should have dropped Deeb.
Yeah, I
wholeheartedly
agree with that.
women on the roster as far as wrestling acumen.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to see that. Probably, in all likelihood, getting the ROH women's title. Tempted to top walk it.
Yeah. It probably says something that her best match so far as champion was on a TJPW show in Japan.
She always show highlights.
Yeah, I'm not against the reign. It's just something that I feel like they are good for building, just not good for maintaining.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, we have an interview with Gresham and now Tully. We have claim from Gresham saying Moriarty isn't Gresham's partner, which fair enough, he wasn't really. Gresham refers to himself as a foundation of Ring of Honor, which kind of is. Like with Jay Lethal as well.
He was part of the foundation.
I believe so. Yeah, I didn't watch Ring of Honor those like the post Rona years. But yeah, we get confirmation that it'll be on Rampage, Moriarty and Gresham for the Ring of Honor title. So I'm covering that next week, which should be a very fun match.
I totally didn't forget that was announced for Rampage and put it on my form thinking it was going to be Dynamite.
Yeah, some person on Twitter put it on like an overall Wednesday post, and for some reason F1 thought, yeah,
it's my fault. I retweeted it as well. So
yeah, the graphic even said Friday under their match, like
still one though.
Or the plus. So we have a little segment before the main event, which is the Mark Henry stuff, where basically we just get the confirmation. What's the word? The confirmation. That's the word. That this match is not only a wrestling match, it's also a match of legal repercussions. Where if Orange Cassidy loses to Tony Nese, he'll sign a petition to remove Swerve Strickland from the roster. And then here comes Danhausen with an objection. Very evil, very legal. Attorney at law. And then Nese reveals that signing the contract is a huge mistake. And then we go basically into it's time for the main event. This, again, all I've written here is 8-pack time and Jane, a great song. Just a few opening bits. This is a standard Cassidy match with his antics. Nese is being dumbfounded by him a little bit until he eventually catches on. A lot of fast-paced action, which is what you expect from these two. Not much else really to point out at this match. I've got Nice mocks the pockets, even though he ain't got any himself because he's wearing pants. I've got here that we got a suplex tease spot over the ropes, which looked pretty good because of the height that Nice was able to get on that. There was a kick, so there was a reversal from Cassidy, which led to him being by Nice's feet, so his head by his feet, and Nice kicks him in the head. To which I've got a JR quip where he says, "How did he make it pop like that?" Then we got some interference from Sterling, who gets pulled down the apron from Danhausen. Danhausen about to curse Sterling, but Nice takes him down. We get a nice little sequence where he goes for Cassidy goes for a tilt-a-whirl DDT reversed into a suplex, which is then reversed into a Stunner Millionaire, which I thought was a pretty nice little segue. Then we've got an orange punch that is missed by a little sort of Matrix style fallback jump up sort of dodge. Then we got Orange Cassidy comes back from a German suplex with 2 tilt-a-whirl DDTs, a top rope DDT as well. Sterling gets involved again, where he basically gets in the ring and threatens to use his contract to hit Cassidy with it. Then we get Danhausen, who comes in, basically stops him again, takes the contract from him, basically, and then does a very front-forward low blow. Like, it wasn't the standard arm under, it was a very punch forward to the groin. I've got here again Nice with more smooth moveset, where he has a very smooth set out driver, where he hits Cassidy head first. And I thought that was it, honestly. And again, more chance this is awesome, like in the first match. I agree. We get a curse on Tony Nese because Danhausen's still there. And as always with the curse, it follows with disaster. And then we got the orange punch to Nice. He sells it like crazy. And then we get the 3 count for Orange Cassidy. And we get to hear Jane once more to end the show with a lovely little thumbs up and Danhausen turning at law sunglasses. I rated that last match 3 3/4 stars.
I'd give Rampage in general an orange thumbs up. Decent show.
Very.
Thank you very much for covering that for us, dude. So moving right on into Raw. So we open up with Lesnar coming out, doing the whole cowboy face thing again. Oh, it's good to be out in Texas, etc., etc. Then Paul Heyman comes out. They try this really awkward comedy routine back and forth, which kind of climaxes in Heyman saying that he'll teach Roman how to basically wear Lesnar as a puppet, fill his heart out, where he put his hand in. For YouTube terms of service, I'll leave it at that. Certainly wasn't PG, considering breaking news that it's supposed to be TV-14 from next week, but out of nowhere, Theory comes out, brings Alpha Academy out, who are there purely for Lesnar to smash. It does hit quite an impressive F5 on Otis to the announce table.
Yeah.
So they have to stand pretty much for the rest of the show, which is nice. But yeah, Lesnar like completely heated Otis up in the air as if he was Gable size. But
yeah, I was very surprised by that. I mean, I shouldn't be too surprised because it's Brock, but At the same time, see someone like Otis, you're like, there's no way.
Bottom line of it all is, we've seen it.
Yeah, with Bianca, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we've seen it. First match we get of the night is Rey Mysterio against Finn Balor. This is a rematch after the Eddie Guerrero spot last week. We get a promo from Priest before, starting with Rate's favourite bit of "All Rise." I said, "All rise." I don't roar it down the mic like Rate does. Basically saying that, like, don't just look at your dad, join us and join the Judgment Day, which, can you imagine Dom in Judgment Day?
Imagine that little lineup. You got like Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, Dominic Mysterio.
One of these things is not like the others. So we then cut to break off the back of that, and the match has already started when they come back off the break. And it was a decent back and forth, and thankfully they gave Finn a clean win here, winning with a coup de grace. So it was good to actually get some heat back, because that ending last week made them look idiots. And as I say, they've got a lot of work to do now without Edge to prove they're not Retribution 2.0.
Mm-hmm. I can't help but feel that there's some sort of seeds being built here for Dominic eventually turning on Ray, or vice versa.
Well, we were supposed to be talking about Ray versus Dominic at WrestleMania just gone. That's what they were speculating at SummerSlam last year.
Mm.
So the time's running out on him to do it, because Ray's knees are made of matchsticks.
Oh, I think because Dominic is very stale.
And that too, like, they do need to set up if that's how they're going to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that leads into Bianca Belair versus Carmella, which is a rematch for the Raw Women's Championship. This does not last anywhere near as long, because we get our first incredibly stupid finish of the evening. Back and forth for a while, not awful, but Becky comes out, who's apparently number one contender. I don't remember that. I know that she had the match with Asuka to end their feud, but
I suppose by default she got contendership because there's no one else worthy.
Yeah, I suppose it's not like anyone in SmackDown right up their different titles. I forget that sometimes. But yeah, Belair does something really dumb and goes out to interact with her. Hear the ref counting. It's not like she's deaf, but she's in Becky's face the full time, and she loses by count out. Which to me is just incredibly dumb.
It really is.
It's not even like Becky was holding her or something like that. She was literally just out there talking to her. I forgot about that.
I mean, I think I would too if I was fighting Carmella.
You know, our finish is called the Silence.
Which I wish she would stay. I'm sorry, that's harsh. I know that's harsh. I'm sorry.
Even my notes have got, like, Carmella is actually quite decent at a lot of stuff, but the stuff she's not good at, she's awful at. It stands out like a sore thumb. She does get a bad rap, though. She's not as bad as everyone thinks overall.
Yeah, that's fair.
Spots in our game that are quite noticeable. Next up after that, we get a promo with of Miz TV and a recap again of the Logan Paul stuff.
Why is the show 3 hours long?
Yeah, pretty much. So this Miz TV has a special guest Ciampa, who got maybe 2 words out, basically saying that the reason he did it, he wanted all eyes on him. Who has more eyes on them than the Miz? Great motivation, Ciampa. So at this point, no, AJ Styles comes out to send both men scurrying from the ring. Then music hit that I didn't recognise at first. And I don't think AJ did either. Because he turns around like, who the hell is that? And it's Ezekiel, who is absolutely white bread beyond belief without Kevin Owens as part of that act.
Mm-hmm.
It is god awful without that cute foil.
Ironically, I think AJ would be a good counterpart if he was heel to Ezekiel, being like, hey, you're not Ezekiel, you're Elias. And then Ezekiel can play like, not you too. Like, gee, man. I'm Ezekiel. Like,
so, and then we go to a commercial break, and again, we miss the starting bell. We're into the action right away. They have a decent back and forth match, large portion of which is pretty much just Miz and Ciampa taking turns to beat down Ezekiel. Then eventually, hot tag to AJ comes in, wipes house, and we get a stupid bloody ending of the night number 2. Ciampa breaks up a pin attempt and comes in and just gone wailing on Styles. And because he wasn't the legal man, they lost by DQ. It was a really good match, bordering on great, and then that just dumb finish. I've heard people say after it that they were exercising an unspoken rule of no more than 2 pin breaks in a tag match. For reference, the tag match later on the card is 3. Because as soon as he said that, I counted. And don't even get me started on the Dynamite Triple Threat, how many pin breaks there was in that.
I didn't count them, but I know there's a lot.
So, yeah, whoever said that is the reason is incorrect. I think it was Big Dave Meltzer.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've definitely heard it before. That said, that sort of unspoken rule. I don't know where from though.
So after that, we get the women's tag match. This time it's Asuka and Alexa Bliss against Doudrop and Nikki ASH. Again, Alexa's making herself known that she wants to go for Women's Championship. I think she should absolutely have next and either be the one to beat Belair or Becky wins at SummerSlam and Bliss has a feud with Becky for a while but doesn't win the title. You might think that's kind of weird how I put that, but Alexa's one of those people that she's a good character. Bliss is a bad character. And a good character, but bad in the ring. If you've ever watched a match, count how many wrestling moves she does. Literally, it's just the DDT. That's it.
Yeah, I'm going to add. It's literally that's nothing.
But yeah, we get a bit of back and forth. This is the one being worked on. Eventually, Asuka gets the hot tag. Asuka Asuka did break up the pin twice, but obviously no action off the back of that. And it was that girl was getting basically looked over again. Because remember when they were supposed to be talking about Nikki getting more serious and going on a serious run?
Yeah.
It's not been followed up at all.
In typical fashion. Who'd have guessed it?
After that, we get yet another Prophet versus Uso. This time it was Angelo taking on Jimmy. I think that's the one combination they hadn't had yet. But R-Truth comes out to offer him his services. Everyone knows he's a marriage counsellor, divorce lawyer. He's even a tag team mediation certification. But one he's most proud of is his referee certification.
Yep.
But basically gets absolutely smashed by Omos. And it ends up evolving into a 6-man tag instead of the singles. And yeah, it's almost smashed. Not much else to say on that.
I only have one.
The fact that they pinned Dawkins, who's
I was about to say that
for the titles, and not R-Truth.
Yeah, you had Truth there, who was almost guaranteed to take the pin.
I thought it was the sole reason he was there.
Yeah. Can he not? He's going to be the referee at SummerSlam. Him or Omos.
It's just all turning into more of the same. So next up we get Rollins and Theory against Lashley and Riddle. What I forgot to mention earlier is towards the start of the show, in preparation for this match, Bobby Lashley and Riddle are backstage. Riddle's telling him we should hang out and watch Stranger Things. They need someone big and strong there to help keep him calm when Vecna comes out. But Lashley's like, oh, sorry, I've already watched them all, but we should totally hang out. Well, waits like Riddle's got a new friend.
Yeah.
And they win quite cleanly. Halfway through the match, Ziggler comes out. It's made a big deal of. He's in a suit. It's acting like a return that we've not seen him in months. Apart from the Battle Royal 2 weeks ago. And apart from interrupting a Omos segment 3 weeks before that. And the NXT title match with Braun Breaker on Raw after Mania.
Don't know what you mean.
We've not seen him in months. Months.
Yeah, it's been almost years. Like it's amazing. I was blown away.
It looks like Ziggler's going to be starting a feud with Theory. Because Ziggler prevents him from cheating, and then Riddle hits the RKO for the win. And that is the show.
It was a Raw.
It was a Raw. It wasn't an awful Raw, but it did exist. I certainly didn't rate it as highly as Rate did. Chat, and he was begging off because of his coughing fit. If there's nothing I like more is having to watch Raw twice. I didn't know I had to till today. I'd already watched it. I had to watch it again for notes.
Again, wishing you well, right? We're wishing you safe.
Oh yeah,
safe and good health.
Yeah, I hope you recover extremely quickly. I'm not doing this next week. In fact, I'm not even here next week. I'm in London. I know you are too, but I am away from my editing stuff, so I cannot edit. I can perhaps get back up in time on the Thursday in order to do the old producing, but I certainly wouldn't have watched any wrestling that week, sadly.
Mm.
So yeah, that was Raw, and we'll move on to AEW. Opens up with Wardlow against Orange Cassidy. It's all the usual Orange Cassidy stick that I'm starting to think is getting a bit overexposed now. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm alone in that.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I literally mentioned it in Rampage as well. Like,
Yeah, 'cause at this point it's like, yeah, we know what he's going to do. More importantly, Wardlow knew what he was going to do. What was hilarious, though, and I did love this, was Chuck Taylor and Trent came right out and said, he's not got a hope in hell of winning, so we're going to cheat. We got our manager's licenses. So they start trying to cheat immediately in full view of the referee because they're good guys, they're not used to cheating.
yeah,
And it starts with Trent removing the wrong bit of the turnbuckle. It removed the pad of the actual turnbuckle itself instead of the padding on the outside.
yeah, the cover, yeah.
So if you hit someone, you would have still had the cushion. So Bryce is over dealing with that, and the next thing you know, Taylor's reaching under the ring to pull out a weapon and pulls out a chainsaw. Might just be a step too far on that.
Maybe, but never in doubt for Chainsaw Chucky.
Yeah. But the whole point of this was they're good guys, they're not used to being bad guys, so they're terrible at cheating. They get caught right away and get ejected in very much the same fashion as they did the week before. And then we get the usual orange guff of the my hands are in my pockets, haha, you don't have pockets now, when Wardlow rips the pockets off. So Orange puts his straps back on Wardlow. It turns out a decent match. I just wish that we didn't see that so often from Orange, because the switch is losing its like shock factor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we all know he can go like that now. The point
I think
it's frustrating watching him, knowing that we have to wait on that.
Because I don't watch Darks, but I'm assuming he's been on there as well, and he's
Yeah.
been on the last, I want to say, last two Dynamites and the last maybe two Rampages, and he's done singles matches, which really exposes your style.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of, as you say, a lot of exposure.
Overexposure, there's nothing wrong with the act, but when you're doing it twice a week on TV, I know one of them's a YouTube show, but still,
Yeah.
it just wears thin.
Yeah.
But
I
really
think
didn't like is Cassidy kicking out of an F10.
I didn't mind that so much because it wasn't the power bomb, which is the main finish. I see the F10 as sort of like a, like for gaming terms, as a signature move
Should
rather
be
than a
the other way
finisher.
around. Really should be the other way around.
Yeah.
Because he only beats him with one power bomb. And of course retains. So it was a decent match once they got going, but sitting through all the normal shtick waiting on it to happen is getting boring for me now. But certainly once it kicked off, it was great. That leads into Jericho's promo. Comes out in what Ric Flair calls a cheap, tacky looking suit, according to his Twitter. Jericho is without any of the guys with him. He's out on his own. He's staring down at the camera. Kind of rambles a lot about Kingston being pretty much a loser. And he's promising to spill Jericho's blood and Jericho like that. So he's going to go ultra violent and have a barbed wire everywhere match. And he's not facing the Wizard. He's not facing the Champion. Facing the Painmaker, which we're all supposed to be scared of. It's supposed to send shivers down the spine of Eddie Kingston, as if that means anything. But yeah, from that we go into commercial break, and when we come back, Kingston's wasted 5 seconds of his 30 seconds, complaining that he's only got 30 seconds. And again, he's doing that really intense stare too close to the camera. Then he's gonna spit. He promised spilling his blood, and he's gonna get it. And again says he's gonna do it for my Ruby, and you see her in the background, kind of cringing. So
they point out, they point out Ruby's cast on her hand, like forearm, and what I'm thinking is, yeah, that's her fault that she has that cast.
Yeah, it's done. But from there, we do go straight into the what they call World Championship Eliminator match.
That's the one. Yep.
If I understand, this is just a WWE Championship Contenders match.
It is, yes. I think with WWE, it's like next week you get a shot, whereas in AEW, it's if you beat the champion, it's just at a future date. I think. Don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure.
If that's the case, every non-title match wrestlers in against a top champion, any win should be automatically that.
I think AEW like unofficially treat it as that because the champs don't lose much anyway, whereas in WWE the champs lose a fair bit if you're not, like one of the big stars.
So we basically get a standard box match. Kanoski again is just a house of fire. But I just keep thinking to myself, why is he getting this? Like he's 0-4 on Dynamite and Rampage. But yeah, he's got the fans by his side, but you need to let him beat someone. It's one thing just taking lots of upper and main eventers to a limit. You need to let him beat somebody. Otherwise, it's just jobber to the stars. They are wasting that potential as opposed to building it like you think they are.
Yeah.
Broski gets busted open fairly quickly on, and Box drinks it, which
yeah, that was a bit. I had to look away from that.
Yeah, it was horrible.
It's like I work in a hospital, and
yeah, same. I'm from a medical background, and any bodily fluid just. Yeah, get a good back and forth match. Again, we get a little bit in no selling, and the amount of Death Riders and paradigm shifts that Mox hit on him almost seemed a bit too much. Because he's this guy who takes champions to the limit, but he shouldn't be needing finisher 2 or 3 times for a guy who hasn't won a match yet.
Yeah.
So
I think this is mainly like treated as sort of like an indie match, if you know what I mean. So like something you'd see like at your local music hall or something like that, where someone gets like a really good go ahead with finishers, and it's like finisher 1, finisher 2, kick out, finisher 3, free count.
Yeah, there's a very thin line between a star making effort, losing and being a star in defeat, and being Dolph Ziggler level jobber at the start. they need to be careful not to Ziggler this kid.
Yeah, the kid's got a good, honestly, like 15, 20 years on Dolph, so.
I know, but if you look at Dolph around about 2010, 11, 12, he had like the potential to be multiple time champion, glorified main eventer, but they just jobbed him out too much that it was irreparable.
The Del Rio of all people.
So after this, we get Christian Cage's awful line of the week. They come out because Luchasaurus is going to be facing Griff Garrison. Because Griff Garrison basically looks like Jungle Boy, they are treating him as such by proxy. And of course, we get a dead dad comment from Christian Cage to Brian Pillman Jr., saying his dad's not a legend, but he sure would be disappointed to see where he's at now. And my thoughts on this were MJF did it better.
Yeah, no, fully agree.
If it had been anyone other than Pillman Jr., he'd said something a bit close to the line, but the dad stuff, you've already gone there with MJF. It's a lot of diminishing returns at this point.
I think it was alright. It wasn't as good as the first time he did it with actual Jungle Boy, with his parents, and sister. It just felt a bit too much this time around. Like, as you say, like they've done it already, so there's no real need to revisit it.
This went into a squash match where Griff was basically squashed pretty much right away, tapping out to Luchasaurus' version of the snare trap with the nerve pinch that he calls the tar pit. It's a good looking submission, to be fair. And then stacks up the Pillman Jr. on the table and goes to chokeslam Griff Garrison through him. Fails the first time, does it the second time. That was that. The Christian stuff is a bit more of diminishing returns for biding time until Jungle Boy's back.
Yeah. Someone pointed out to me how much Kane inspiration there is on Luchasaurus' current gimmick, and I was like, no, there isn't. And they said to me, look at him, listen to the theme, and his finisher, besides the submission, is a chokeslam. I was like, hang on a minute.
He is Kane, but better.
Yeah. Well, maybe not like 97 Kane.
So after that, we get the showdown we've all been waiting for of Hager against his former tag team partner, Claudio Castagnoli. We don't get any tease of We the People at all, which makes me a little sad.
The Colt come down in a little wheelchair.
It is a decent match though. At one point he tries to get him in the giant swing, and Hager kind of flops like a fish to get out of it. Good back and forth, and eventually Castagnoli hits the Ricola bomb to get the clean victory, despite the attempted interference from the Jericho Appreciation Society. So he's still getting a decent push right out the gate. Be interested to see how he gets on Ring of Honor, if that's still the plan for him, or if they just tend to keep him on Dynamite.
Too sure who they're going to sort of separate between the rosters there.
So after that, we get Anna Jay versus Serena Deeb. They say hometown hero, but it's pretty much the equivalent of me saying Glasgow is my hometown. Fact though it is, but I'm from a town with a lot of back and forth initially, but it's basically a fairly quick squash. With Deeb winning with the Serenity Lock. I was surprised to see people actually thought that Deeb had a chance of winning. And I was interacting with someone on Twitter about it. Said that I just thought there was a chance because it was her hometown. And I feel I need to remind people that faces don't win in their hometown unless they're a world champion.
Mm-hmm.
People don't win in front of their family.
Yeah. Unless you're MJF.
He wasn't the face.
Yeah, sure.
Well, it was that night, to be fair.
Yeah.
Nice that crowd in Long Island.
The only city that will cheer for him.
Because they're all as scummy as him. Come at me, Long Island.
And MJF. Please.
Obviously, Deeb keeps in the Serenity Lock after the match. Just to get extra heat. Which summons Martinez to come out and make the save. To me, it's not so much that she made the save though, it was more that she was just coming out to hit Deeb. It's heel versus heel, and off the back of that, Anna Jay's backstage getting tended to, and Tay Conti comes in and says, if you think you've improved so much, why have you only been on TV once in the last 4 months? At which point I then decided to go and look it up and then realised that Tay Conti has only had one match in the last 4 months.
She might run herself.
And that was the mixed tag with her and Sammy. So she's not had like a single women's match in about 6 months.
What, not even on Dark?
Not even Dark.
Oh, wow.
So when she said, maybe if you drop this act and start hanging out with us at the Jericho Appreciation Society, you might get on TV. You'd get on TV, but you won't wrestle again. Yeah, I mean, she is improving, but she's still not there for me. I know she's got a lot of fans for how she looks, but I tend to judge women wrestlers on their ability to, wrestle well.
As you would expect in a wrestling industry.
Yeah, this leads into the massively predictable triple threat match that Bucks were always going to win. And this was just a filler feud on their way to FTR.
Yeah.
So, could have snoozed on this, just let it happen, go through. We do get some really cool spots that make you think, oh, maybe actually there is a chance that one of them could win. But then you remember it's the Bucks. Bucks always win. So,
yeah.
Didn't get our hopes up. And we actually got a considered belt shot from Strickland on Lee during the match for zero reason. And it just made him look incredibly dumb. And this is after weeks of Strickland teasing that he's going to turn on Lee. So we get a lot of near falls. Will Hobbs in particular is starting to look really good. He's improved a lot over the last few months. The Bucks get sent to the outside, and Lee gets Starks down. Up goes Swerve to hit the double stomp from the top and gets the win. So we have new tag team champions.
Yeah.
I mentioned this in the chat earlier. I am a huge Keith Lee fan. And my reaction to this wasn't, oh yes, one of my favourites has finally won gold. It was confusion. And it shouldn't have been. Because sadly this does make zero sense. As much as I hate the Bucks, in order for their rematch with FTR to mean anything, the Bucks needed a reasonably lengthy run with the titles to build the drama of FTR finally getting all the titles.
Yeah.
And that's where I was sure it was going. That and the fact that Strickland has been pretending to and teasing the turn on Lee constantly, to the point that I am concerned we're going to get a repeat of Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez on Rampage or Dynamite.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you're wrong on that count, but
I know we don't cover NXT, but I'm sure many people will have seen the video of it by now. So I will cover it here, because sadly these two stories parallel a little too much. Basically, on NXT this week, Cora Jade cost Roxanne Perez her title match against Mandy Rose, and attacks her with the skateboard. She goes to lift the skateboard up. Half of it already split, just falls and lands on her. And Cora, not realising the weight is suddenly halved, goes to bring it down and realises he's not actually going to do any damage with it. So just kind of pats it down on her. It was clear that the board was supposed to be gimmicked to break on her back, but that obviously failed. But that is another one that made no sense. Always started teaming together 36 days ago. Only won the tag titles the previous week.
Yeah, it's a weird little scenario where they haven't really done much to even signify a turn in either person, and I ain't really got much words for it.
I think there's a lot of people saying they've ruined Cora Jade. Kid's 20.
He's got a bright future.
Yeah, they've not ruined either of them. They've ruined the storyline, and they'll put her back a few months in terms of getting the main run as NXT champ. But everyone needs to remember she's 20. Just because Paige won it at 20. And that was purely because there was barely any women on NXT at the time. It's not an apples to apples comparison. And as much as maybe pretty in the eye, sadly, that title's Nikita Lyons when she's back. The WWE are absolutely mad about her because she creates a buzz on social media.
Yeah, I wonder why.
The thing is, she's only following the blueprint that I laid down in FPL and WCP. I lose constantly. Keep myself relevant because I shoot off at the mouth on my social media. So, Nikita Lyons has obviously saw that. I mean, it helps that she's like eye candy.
Yes.
And obviously she has all the thirsty young men on her side.
She also has that jungle boy hair.
Yeah. That's the way that's going to go. And really, if you keep yourself relevant on social media, I know ours is kayfabe, but yeah, they say wins and losses matter, but not if you can run your mouth. So,
I think The Rock is a good example of that.
But yeah, that was the wrestling this week. We really appreciate you bearing with us. I know it wasn't the usual dynamic, but I think we did quite well there, DP.
I think we did.
So, it's time to do the awkward social plugging bit. So, just a reminder, our links to our socials are in the description below. That includes our Discord server, which is growing every single day. We've got rooms for gaming, rooms for wrestling discussion, obviously. We're in prediction weeks for chatting about that. We've got loads of events coming up that will be running on there shortly as well. So please do join the Discord and join in the conversations. Our Twitter is at honor_club. That is honor with a U, because we are British. And speaking of British, our Roman reporter DP here will be attending an event on Saturday. If you want to tell the people about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to run through the entire thing, or just like some select matches?
Just a quick overview of the card and what we'll be doing for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Saturday, I'm going to be attending a debut show of a upstart company called Coliseum. got a lot of matches. We've got about 10 matches announced. Just basically the showcasing the uprise of new British talent and also other European talent. Some matches on the card. We have Nigerian Kaiju Warren Banks against the Prince of Panache, Sheikh El Sham. We have 9 Stone of Skull Power, Harley Hudson against 6 Feet of Fury, L.A. Taylor. We've got the Jacked Stacked Daddy Shreddy against the Alpha Male Yestin Reese. We've got the anti-conformist Kira Chimera against the engineer Ronnie Knox. We've got some, dare I say, established, or what's the word, experienced talent as well, with Doug Williams and Joel Redman taking on a team of Leighton Buzzard and Theodoros. We've got a match. One of the matches I'm looking forward to as well is Phyllis Charlie Morgan against the Scandinavian Dragon Alice Inc. They've also announced a new match, as I think it was Tuesday they announced it. We've got Jim Diehard against, if you're familiar, What Culture's Simon Miller.
Hey, I'm aware of Simon Miller.
But yeah, I'm going to be covering it for Honor Club and also for the place.
Yeah, I don't know if we can say the name of it yet until the review's done. But we will be putting details out on our socials, so make sure you're following there. And make sure you follow Coliseum Pro Wrestling.
Absolutely.
They are a promotion that has a lot of potential, I think. I'm quite looking forward to reviewing this. Should be live. Hopefully by the time I come back from London, I'll be squared away.
Yeah, hopefully. And their Twitter is just Coliseum Pro. That is Coliseum, COLOSSEUM capital P Pro.
So yeah, like, comment, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Please give us a follow and subscribe to the feed if you're watching on or listening, I should say, on one of the very various podcast apps that we use. And thankfully, Rate has pre-recorded and set his video to premiere for the Sporkle Saturday. So he will be time travelling to see you then. As far as his solo review is dependent on how much better he's feeling. That may get replaced with our review of the show. DP's attending on Saturday. Posted on that. Failing that, we will see you next week for an interesting week with me being on assignment. There will be a few little changes to the format and how everything looks, just because all the editing assets and everything are on my computer. I will do my best to transfer as much as I can over to Rate. He'll be picking up the ball for me. But stand by, it might look a little different. But with that said, I'd just like to thank you all for watching and or listening. See you next time. Bye everyone.
See you guys.